Welcome to Containerized Conversations, where we try to containerize our conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
And I'm Josh Warhurst. Thanks for tuning in as we dive into some of our favorite topics, one containerized thought at a time.
Welcome back, listeners. And welcome back, Josh.
Hey, Jesse. How's it going?
Yeah, it's going great. How's it going with you?
Good. So I've been reading a lot more recently. It wasn't a habit when we started this podcast. And
yeah, we talked about that. And then I forced you to read 7 Habits. And then we're like, that was great. We should totally do another series on like that.
Oh, this is the best experience for the listeners. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't think we've actually looked at whether or not this is a good experience for the listeners, but it's a great experience for us.
Yeah.
Because reading is good for you. It feels good to read a book. It feels like you accomplished something, and often you can learn stuff. So that's helpful.
Hey, a famous quote from something is a person who doesn't read lives but one life, and a person who does read lives 1,000.
As long as you actually get around to reading 1,000 different books. But so we've struggled, I think, to actually pick a next book. And I know you suggested Strange Pictures as one of the potential books that we could read.
Yep.
It's on the fiction side. It's not anything related to DevOps, but I still think it would be good to read. One of the things that I think is interesting about Strange Pictures is that it is a book that, when I look at it online, it has such a varied reception. There are some people that love it. They're like, this is the best book I've ever read in my entire life. And there's other people that are like, anybody who likes this book is probably a terrible person or a child, or it's this huge range. And I get it. I haven't read Strange Pictures, so I don't really know how it fits into this camp.
Strange Pictures is the worst book I've ever read.
Are you looking up actual?
Yeah. I refuse to believe anyone over the age of 15 actually found this well written or complex or deep or anything than the heap of garbage that it is. That's a hot take.
I think somebody I talked to once talked about how there was like a review score online where you could see not just like the aggregate reviews, like, oh, the average reviews that people give is 8 out of 10. It would show how many people, kind of like an Amazon review score, how many people did 1 and how many people did 5.
Yeah.
And so you can see this. And there's some video games, for instance, where it all kind of clusters on the right side. It clusters on the it's good. And then there's ones that are the sort of bell curve reverse, where there's just a ton of people who hate it and a ton of people who love it.
Yeah.
I find those experiences tend to be the more interesting experience.
Well, so there's those 2 types of games and books. But then there's like this third subsection where like it sounds like such a terrible book. Most people don't read it or play it. And the people who do are purposely looking for an experience like that. Right? And I at least I thought, or I would argue, that's basically what this book was, is I'm almost surprised to find bad reviews. Because I'm surprised people who like complicated books found this book in the first place. This is not a well-known book. It's like very much like a book from the shadows. And like, I won't defend some of these bad reviews. It's not a overly complex book. It's not that. I don't think it was meant to be. I think it was just meant to be like an interesting little blurb from someone who's not famous.
There's a lot of people that are like, I didn't get anything from this poem. It sucks. And other people are like, oh, that poem describes my life. It's perfect in every way. I think sometimes the things that you want out of a book, there are stuff that's obviously very appealing to everybody, right?
Yeah.
It's just generally readable, right? It's written in such a way that 90% of people can attach meaning to it.
Yeah.
But for those people who read a lot of books, sometimes this is something that is not very appealing because they've seen it 100 times before, or it's super appealing because they've never seen it before.
The why I like it is because it's It's written by a Japanese author, and
Mhm.
it's like a story that I feel like you would have to be in Japanese culture to even think about writing. Reading it as a person who hasn't been a part of Japanese culture, it's really interesting to read where I'm like, okay, I can see how this could happen in Japan. And I don't want to ruin it, but it makes sense that it could happen in Japan. And that's what I find fascinating by it.
I remember a author talking about how books that are written in other languages feel super unique in a way compared to books that are written, say, if your native language is English, people who write in English tend to write in a very specific way.
Yeah.
When you write in a different language, you often write stories totally different, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, this story takes place in Japan and it has Japanese things. It's like literally the structure of the story doesn't exist in America. In the same way, there are a lot of people in Japan who like foreign stories because they're like, no Japanese person would ever write this story. Like,
That's true.
I think it's really funny in that way that like the structure of the story, it's not just like the cultural things and the way it's written. It's like literally like how they decide to present information is
Yeah.
totally different. And some people might find that off-putting, right?
Yeah.
I know a lot of Japanese stories, they don't really tell you who's talking, right? This is
Yeah.
a basic thing.
Yeah.
They don't have a blah, blah, blah said. It's just like you can have a banter for 3 pages where 2 people are going back and forth, or 3 people are talking in a group chat, and you just have to keep track of who's talking.
Yeah.
These kind of things just don't exist in our books. We're usually like, you need to remind somebody who's talking right now.
Yeah. It's even weirder too because there was another book I tried to read, which I think was either the Three Body Problem or another one, but it was originally written in Chinese to American and English, and I couldn't read it because the translation was like literally so literal. It was like Jane said this, John said this, Jeremiah said this. And I'm just like, okay, I get that you have to say who's saying it sometimes, but you don't have to be constantly telling me who's saying what. I get it.
So I read The Three Body Problem. I read the second book in that series too. And what's interesting, the first book and the second book are actually translated by different people.
Oh, really?
And so the first book is translated by, it feels more like the original
Yeah.
because it's actually translated by somebody who, I want to say, knows Chinese books and stuff like that. And so keeps it very faithful to the Chinese. The second book, the author is more an American author. I don't know this 100%. But the point is, he rewrites stuff so it's much more readable. And so the second book comes across more as like, oh, this is
interesting.
And it's just the choices of the translators. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. But
it
I
might have been.
feel bad.
If they were very literal in who was speaking, then it was that one.
Again, problem.
Because that one came out on Netflix, as right. That's the one with the planets that and the planet. Right?
Yes.
I won't ruin it.
This is the one with the planets.
I don't want to ruin it for the listeners.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been that book, but I mean, it is interesting how you can get a book that's written in a different language and then translated, and sometimes the translation, like, it's nice and kind of like
the point, though, I think I want to make with all this is that, like, with art, sometimes your goal is to be like interesting, and so what's interesting to you is also not necessarily the same interesting to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right. You might watch a movie, for instance, that's like really esoteric, but a film critic who's watched a bunch of artsy films might say, this is exactly what I'm looking for because I get all the references. It feels right. But then somebody who's just walking to the theater for the first time is like, this is a terrible film because I don't. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's really hard. I certainly, as I've grown older, care less about reviews from like outlets and different things because it's really hard to figure out who they're writing for, who their audience is.
Yeah.
And often when I'm asking people for reviews, like for books, they're like, oh, what other books do you like? Because often if they like the same books, then I might say, oh, yeah, like you've read a bunch of books that I think are good books. And therefore, I'm more
Yeah.
tempted to think that your recommendations are good.
I'll be interested to see if you do get a chance to read Strange Pictures and or Strange Buildings and or Strange Houses, because I'd be interested to see. I'm only partway through Strange Pictures. Strange Houses was my first one I read.
You think that's the starting point?
I mean, I'm only partway through the other one, and according to this review board, Strange Houses was a complete mess. So if that's the worst one, then I thought it was pretty good. So that means that it only goes up from here for me.
I like reading the bad reviews because as long as I still have enough intention to actually go and do it, if I just read the good reviews, then I'm often setting myself up for failure.
Yeah.
But if I read the bad reviews, I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be trash.
Yeah.
And then I go and read it. I'm like, oh, this is actually really good. It wasn't trash.
Yeah.
That's the approach I try to take. So I do like seeing the criticisms first, right? If you buy a product from Amazon, if you look at the 1-star reviews, there's a lot of people who will just say, I'm not going to buy this product anymore.
Well, there's one person on here that says something that I find really interesting. Even if many readers don't like Yuketsu, which is the guy who wrote it, I do get that, but the Japanese Hankaku, which is orthodox fair play mystery tradition, which it carries on, is very cool and worth checking out. So, and he mentioned some classic ones is the Hanjin murders and the devotion of Suspect X.
Oh,
and,
I've read that.
And Malice by Kei Higashino. Maybe that's why I liked it, because it was such a weird genre for me, and because it says orthodox / fair play mystery. I feel like it was more like unorthodox mystery, but
it can be orthodox in Japan and unorthodox here.
That's true. Which is maybe why I liked it so much. Because like I said, I could see it happening in Japan, but like here, that makes no sense.
I think sometimes like when you have lived in another culture for too long, you can only see certain things certain ways. When I read Japanese stories, like even stuff that's fantasy, even stuff that's like, oh, this takes place in Europe. I'm like, all right, Japan. But things you're like, oh, I can see like from somebody who grew up in Japan, like these are the things that they're thinking about, right? Yeah. These like cultural tropes are very present here, right?
Yeah.
And I can't read these stories without thinking about Japan, right?
Yeah.
And it helps. I wonder, could I go blind into a story and just like totally forget the author, right? I think that's probably a hard task. But anyways, often you can just tell.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I don't get to read a lot of books. But I also do find it kind of hard to discover books. The few books I have read are just so good. And I'm just like, okay, I have to hold back and wait till I can find the next good one. And I've had a hard time finding another good one.
Yeah, I don't have that problem. Every book that I read, I've enjoyed in some way, or I've totally dropped off very quickly. But usually my problem is just dedicating enough time to opening that book. Because once I do, I'm like, this is great. Why did I not dedicate the time?
Yeah, you almost have to set aside. And like, that's what I was thinking is maybe I should just set aside even just 20 minutes. I feel like 20 minutes a day can really stack up. It doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it's more time than not doing it, right?
Most books, when you look at the time it takes for people to read it, it's 4 hours, 6 hours. Yeah. It's not actually a massive amount of time.
Yeah.
But
especially the Strange series, they're smaller books. You could definitely 4 to 6 hours, no problem.
It's getting that solid block of time. A lot of people, they feel like, oh, this book has 11 chapters. I need to get through a chapter tonight. Then you're only going to set aside these large blocks of time.
Yeah.
That is why it's helpful having the reader on your phone.
Right? So getting back to tech, have you seen those apps or that app? There's this one app that gets pushed to me all the freaking time. And it's like micro reading books where it gives you a paragraph or two to read. and you're supposed to, read it in the 10 minutes you have in between, you working on something, and then you have a quick break and you're supposed to read it, and it's supposed to help people who don't have time to read be able to read. And I guess it also kind of summarizes down a little bit, so it makes the book not as big. You haven't got pushed this yet, have you?
Never heard of it.
All right,
Right.
one's listening. It's like it literally is some sort of app that does. But yeah, it's an interesting concept, right? It sends you micro doses of whatever book you want to read, and you read it. You spend the minute reading the paragraph, and you move on. I don't know if you could actually remember a book if you read it in doses like that, but interesting concept.
If you say, do you remember something from like a book you read 5 years ago? The answer is probably no, right?
I mean, I can generally tell you.
Yeah, super generally.
We and my wife were talking about this the other day. I have such a vivid imagination. Like, when I read books or listen to books, it's like I've seen a movie of it, right? And so there has been times where I'll literally recall memories as if it's actually the book I read, but I'll recall it as if it's like a memory. Oh yeah, I saw that movie. And then people are like, no, the movie was never made of that book. I was like, what are you talking about? And it turns out it was never a movie.
I've definitely had like very specific scenes in my head. Some things are more, when I think about like the 7 Habits, I can totally think of the like going on motorcycle rides in Hawaii and the like open fields and stopping at the beach in like 2 hours.
I read the Kingslayer Chronicles. I don't know. Read that.
Way of the Wind is the first one, right?
Yeah.
Or is it? No.
Yeah. I think Way of the Wind's the first one.
Is it Way of the Wind? I feel like that's not right.
Yeah, the Way of the Wind.
I don't think it's the Way of the Wind.
Yeah, I think it is. It's been so long. But with that being said, the Name of the Wind. Yeah.
The Name of the Wind. Thank you.
But like, it's been so long ago that I barely remember the name, but like I can definitely vividly imagine like different scenes in that book, like it was movies. How they had the whole like hand gesture characters. I can picture him learning it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that was like Tobey Maguire, like learning like basically sign language, right?
I think the end of the day, I do want to read more. I feel like I do have these experiences like you do. It's just about finding the right amount of time. I don't think it's even about finding the right books. I just think they're all good.
Yeah.
Not every book is good, but enough are good, or you can like.
So what I'm thinking, and maybe, I don't know what, for me, when I'm about to go to bed, I usually doom scroll for an hour. My thought was maybe I should put the phone away and actually try to read in that hour I'm actually doom scrolling in bed.
Yeah.
Do you go to sleep the second you hit the bed?
I put my phone away pretty quickly, but prior to bed, I often do sit around for like a little bit. Apps like news and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'll read email that I haven't read. But I find that's a perfect thing to go and replace with reading.
Even if it's 20 minutes, like I said, even 30 minutes. So still do it. But just do it a little less and then pick up the book. Or maybe do it in reverse, right? You feel like you have to do it. Why don't you pick up the book first, read 10 minutes of it, and then if you want to put the book down, put it down and do your doom scrolling. But if you don't, then do it till you want to go to sleep.
Right.
So I think that's how I'm going to force myself to start doing it more. But maybe that's what we should do. Maybe turn it into a habit. Right.
Well, hopefully we'll come back to this and we'll have a nice book we've both read and we can test that eventually.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
All right. We should definitely end this here. We're at 23 minutes. So we rambled on about nothing.
Hey, people love it.
All right. You have a good night, sir.
Yep.
Talk to you. And that was our containerized conversation. I'm Jesse Caffarelli.
I'm Josh Warhurst. Have a great night.